be fun to show you all the plants that I have ready to go and will be ready in about a week or so when the weather warms up. This one is going to be calla lily, so they haven't started yet. Then I have this one over here that will be marigolds. There's a few little sprouts in there. Then I have 2 trays of Shasta lilies that I saved from last year that are starting to grow. Then in this pot right here, I have oregano and basil. Those will be separated when it gets warm enough to plant them. That's a marigold there. Then I have these 3 pots here that already have some little tomatoes on them. And those are sweet 100s. Then I have 2 more pots over here of where I separated my Shasta daisies. And then in these I have, in each of those pots, there are 2 tomato plants and pepper plants. And those are going to be those little mini yellow ones, little mini yellow tomatoes. The peppers are going to be jalapenos. And then down here, I have some buckets of pumpkins. And of course, those will be separated when they're ready to plant in the garden. So I have a lot of stuff ready, some almost ready. And what I'm going to do today is we're going to do a pot cover for small plants that you can use inside or outside, made of cotton. We're going to crochet that. And then I'm going to explain to you how you can make a mini garden, whether you live in a cold or warm climate, whether you have a window, a garden, or just a counter to put your plants on. Hello, my yarny friends. I'm Sara Sach, and it's time for Friday Fun with Sara. Today, I showed you right there at the beginning of the video the plants that I have started. And again, here in Colorado, we really don't plant until after Mother's Day, because even though we get sunny days, the overnight lows are still in the freezing, and so we can't plant our plants yet. So I have a lot of stuff planted and a lot of things started, and then what I do is I set them out in the morning when it's warm enough, and then I bring them in at night. And I know that's a lot of work, but it's really worth it because it's a lot of fun. I save my seeds from year to year on a lot of things, like my marigolds, and I bring my Shasta daisies in. One other thing I didn't show you is my hydrangeas that I have in big buckets that I bring in, because they just won't make it if I don't do that. And I thought you'd like to see that. And so what we're going to do for our Friday Fun Day project is we're going to stitch up some of these cotton crochet cozies for our pots. Now this pot will fit about 5 to 6 inch tall pot, and they're a little bit stretchy, so you do have a little bit of wiggle room. It's a great way to add color to your garden, especially if you container garden like I do. And also your indoor plants, you can add these for a fun pop of color. And I really love this cotton that I have, and I'll talk more about the yarns when we get a little farther on in the video. This is a super fun project, and you can find the complete pattern with pictures on my blog. And as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. All right, let's find out what we need to make some of these. So the flower pot cozy that we're going to make today is for the 5-inch tall pot. And I love this yarn. It is beautiful. It is bright. It is vibrant. And it looks like rainbow. It's from Crafter's Secret Cotton. It is from Hobby Lobby. And the name of this is called Sprinkles. And I'm going to make some more in this color. But demonstrating with variegated is a little hard to see. And so I'm going to make one with this teal, which I really like as well. It's very bright. The color is called turquoise. So it isn't teal, it's turquoise. And this is from Premier Home. It is an 85 cotton and 15 polyester, which I really like. I think it makes the cotton a little softer. But you can use acrylic if you want to. If you're going to do this inside your house or even outside, even acrylic yarns are fine. The main thing is you want to use a medium weight number 4 yarn. I really prefer cotton for this project, but if you want to use up some of your acrylic stash, you could make some beautiful flower pot covers. We're going to stitch today with our eye hook, which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. You need a needle just for weaving in ends, and then of course a pair of scissors. And so the amount of yarn you're going to need to make one of these is 1 ounce. So you can get 2 from each of these skeins of yarn. We're going to begin with our slip knot. And we're going to chain 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to join this into a circle. So we'll put the tail of our yarn over our hook and pull that through. And we'll tie that stay knot. Now, if you want to use the magic circle for this, you certainly can. We're going to put our hook in that loop and pull up a loop and chain 4. The chain 4 counts as a double crochet, chain 1. Now we're going to stitch a double crochet, chain 1, and then we'll do this 6 more times, so we'll have 8 sets of double crochet, chain 1. All right, let's see how many I have stitched. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's my last double crochet, chain 1. So we're going to join to the 3rd chain of that beginning chain 4 with a slip stitch. And so now for row 1, we have 8 sets of double crochet, chain 1. All right, let's do row 2. We're going to chain 4. This chain 4 counts as a double crochet, chain 1. And now we're going to double crochet in that first chain 1 space. Now we'll move to the next chain 1 space and stitch a double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. Whoops. There we go. And we'll stitch a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, which is a V-stitch, in each of those chain 1 spaces. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet in each of our chain 1 spaces, and then we'll join back to our chain 3. All right, let's do row 3. We're going to chain 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to double crochet in that first chain 1 space, and now we're going to chain 1. Then we'll move to the next chain 1 space of the next V-stitch. And we'll stitch a V-stitch, which again is a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And then we'll chain 1. So we're doing the same thing we did on row 2. We're just adding a chain 1 in between our V-stitches. So we're stitching a V-stitch in the next chain 1 space of the V-stitch and chain 1. Then we go to the next chain 1 space of the next V-stitch. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then chain 1. And then we'll repeat that the rest of the way around and join back to our chain 3. So I completed those 8 V-stitches with chain 1s in between. Then we joined back to the 3rd chain of our chain 4. And now we're going to chain 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so for row 4, we're going to stitch it the same, only we're going to have chain 2 in between our V-stitches. So now I'll go over to the first chain 1 space of my next V-stitch and stitch a V-stitch, which again is double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. Now I'm going to chain 2 instead of chain 1 like we did on row 3. And then we'll just continue this around our row. V-stitch in the next chain 1 space of the next V-stitch and chain 2 and repeat around. I completed row 4, V-stitch in the chain 1 space of the V-stitch with chain 2 in between all the way around for 8 sets. Now for row 5, we're again going to chain 4, double crochet in that first chain 1 space, and instead of chaining 2 on this row, we're going to chain 3. Then we'll go right to that next chain 1 space of our next V-stitch and stitch a V-stitch, which is a double crochet, chain 1 and double crochet, and then we'll chain 3. Then we'll go to that next chain 1 space and repeat that, V-stitch and chain 3. And so that's our repeat for row 5. V-stitch in the chain 1 space of the next V-stitch and chain 3 and repeat around, and again join back to our third chain of our beginning chain 4. So I completed row 5. We have 8 V-stitches with chain 3s in between. All right, so now we're going to do row 6, chain 4, double crochet in that first chain 1 space, and for row 6 we're going to chain 4, and then just repeat V-stitch in the chain 1 space of the V-stitch and chain 4, and again we'll repeat this working all the way around. And this is our last increase for our cozy. All right, so we're stitching a V-stitch in the chain 1 space of the V-stitch, chain 4 and repeat around, and again join to that third chain. So I completed row 6. We have 4 chains in between our V-stitches, and what we're going to do for row 7 is just repeat row 6. So we're going to chain 4, double crochet in that chain 1 space, and chain 4, just like we did on row 6. So we're not increasing anymore. V-stitch in the chain 1 spaces of our V-stitch and chain 4 in between. I completed row 7, which is just a repeat of row 6. Now we're going to do a row of solid double crochets. All right, so we're going to still do our V-stitches, so we're going to chain 4. We're going to double crochet in that chain 1 space. And then in this chain 4, we're going to stitch 3 double crochets around that chain 4. So 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to go to this next V-stitch and V-stitch in that chain 1 space. Then we'll move to this chain 4 and stitch 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Then we'll move to the V-stitch and stitch a V-stitch. And we'll continue to repeat this, stitching 3 double crochets around that chain 4 and V-stitch in the chain 1 space. And we'll stitch that all the way around and join back to our chain 3. So we stitch 3 double crochets in each of those chain 4 spaces and then a V-stitch in each of the V stitches. Now what we're going to do on row 9 is we're just going to chain 3. We're going to double crochet in the first double crochet. Then we'll double crochet in those 3 double crochets. This brings us to our first V-stitch. So we'll double crochet in that first double crochet of the V-stitch. We're going to skip that chain 1 space and double crochet in the next double crochet. So basically all we're doing is double crocheting in each of the double crochets only and skipping the chain 1 spaces of the V stitches. This is going to bring the top in just a little so that it hugs the top of that pot and stays put, because we don't want it falling off our flower pot. So we're stitching 1 double crochet in each of the double crochet stitches only and not in the chain 1 spaces. I have completed that row and we have a nice second row of double crochets. And now what we're going to do is just chain 1 and we're going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those double crochets, working all the way around the top of our pot cozy. And this again is just going to help the top hold its shape and also help it stay on our flower or plant pot. So we're just stitching 1 single crochet in each of the double crochet stitches, working all the way around the top, and then we'll join back to that first single crochet. So I completed stitching 1 single crochet in each of my double crochets around, and now what we're going to do is just add a nice little edge. So I'm going to chain 4. I'm going to skip the next stitch and slip stitch in the next and chain 4. And this is just going to give us a fun little edge on the top so that our little plant looks pretty when it's sitting in our little plant cozy. So skip the next, slip stitch in the next, and chain 4. There we go. See how that just makes those little bumps, loops, super cute and super simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, skip the next, slip stitch in the next, and chain 4. And repeat all the way around the top of our plant cozy. And then we'll be completely done. Ready to put it on some pretty plants. There we go. And we'll repeat that, working all the way around the top. So I completed that last row. Isn't that pretty? Just that little extra, little ruffly lace look. Join to my first single crochet and cut my yarn. And we'll go in that next loop there. Pull that to the inside so it looks nice and pretty. There we go. And we'll weave this in and the one in the center, and it'll be all ready to slip onto our pot of flowers or cactus or whatever you've got in your 5-inch pot. So here is the one we just made. Isn't that pretty? It just adds color and fun, and whatever you're growing in your pots, you can make beautiful pot covers. Brighten up your room. I'm going to make some in yellow because I love the way that yellow brightens up a room. Now, before I let you go, I wanted to talk to you about something that I've gotten a lot of comments about, my garden. A lot of people say I cannot grow a garden because I don't have a yard, or I don't even have a deck that will fit some pots. So I'm going to give you some things that you can do. The first thing you need is a window. All you need is a window, okay? And then you can take any container. This is my favorite one to use because it's deep enough. It needs to be about 4 or 5 inches deep. You need to have a container and a lid. All right, now this one hasn't been opened yet, okay? So I'm going to show you with this one. It's full of coffee. Once you use all the containers, or all the inside of the container like coffee, other good, that silver's shining. Some other good containers are your plastic ice cream tubs that are square or round. Also, you can use even a Cool Whip tub, the big ones. As long as it's 4 or 5 inches deep, you can grow several of these together. So what you'll do, once you've used the contents of what's inside, you'll turn it over and you'll take a screwdriver and just poke a couple of holes in the bottom for drainage. And then you're going to use that lid on the bottom to catch that water that might come through. And so all you need is a container, some soil. You can get soil for 97 cents at Walmart. That's enough to fill one of these. But you can also watch for sales for when the soil comes on sale. And then pick up some seeds. And what I recommend to grow for your indoor window garden or even container garden is arugula, spinach, kale, and leaf lettuce. And I have red and green leaf lettuce. This one I've already used this year. And what I do is I take all of these seeds, I mix them together, okay? And then I'll take a pot like this and I'll just sprinkle a few seeds, maybe 20 in each pot. Let them grow all together, all mixed up, and you'll get a great combination of greens. When they grow, and when you put your hand like this, and they're as tall as your hand, take a pair of scissors and cut them. Don't pull them out. Cut them. You'll have all that assortment of greens and baby greens that are really good to eat and put with salads and use for other things. Spinach is good in eggs. Arugula is excellent in eggs because it gives it a little peppery taste. But when you cut those instead of pulling them, they'll continue to grow and give you more greens. And you can do several of these. You can put them on your kitchen counter in front of a window, and you can put them in your bedroom, in your living room, in your dining room, in front of a window. You don't have to go outside to plant a green garden and get several types of greens that you can eat. I do this through the winter, and then I always have fresh greens. And there are other greens that you can use as well. These are just my favorites, so I thought I'd tell you about those. And these are Lake Valley, and they were $2.19, $1.99, 97 cents, and $1.59. So it's not very much money. Less than $5 and some soil and a container you have at your house, you can grow your own green garden as long as you've got a window. All right? Well, that's all I've got for you today. Have a great weekend, or a great week, I should say. And I'll see you next Friday for Friday Fun with Sara.